All right, guys, it's Paul Singh, the market speculator with bullsonwallstreet.com. Today, we're going to talk about how to trade volatile trend pullback plays. And the key here is volatile. Now, I've done a lot of these posts on some of the trades I've taken related to trend pullbacks. These are continuation type moves when the stock has been running. Depending on time frame, it could be a couple of weeks. It could be a year-long trend. With big tech stocks like Netflix, a recent trade we took here, it's been a trend that's been going on for a while. And basically, we watch the trend, we wait for a pullback, and when we get a pullback that holds, we enter for the next big run. And the standard way to play this, the easy way to play this, is when you get these nice, orderly, low volume type pullbacks. And those are great. Those are fantastic trades to take. The problem is when you get these stocks that are high flyers and really big momentum plays, they don't always pull back orderly. Sometimes you get these volatile pullbacks, and those can actually be the most profitable trades, but a lot of people don't trade them because they're scary. And that's what just happened with our Netflix trade. So let's take a look at it. First, where we entered, you can see here it pulled back from all-time high of 167 all the way down to 143. Now we entered here at 150 on this day here and exited at 158. So it was a nice 8-point win in just a few days of holding. So really big win here, and we had to get out at this point because earnings were coming up, and we don't want to hold through earnings in case there's a big gap down and you're basically just guessing through these earnings plays. So that's what we did. Now let's take a look at why we did it. So if we pull this thing back, we can see Netflix has been on a tear. I mean, we could go back even further, but just going back here to last summer, we had a low here of about 90, and we've basically, at this point, we've doubled it, 100% move since last summer. But where we were here was 90 to about 163, and then pulling back to 150. So huge move. And you can see here, ignore the gap ups and gap downs. Those are all related to earnings. So we had a gap down here, gap up here, gap up here, gap up here. But whenever it's made this run, it's pulled back and given us an entry. Pulled back, you can still see my notes from the last play. And this was more of the orderly variety. It wasn't a deep pullback. Tested the all-time high here at this point, pulled back, remounted. That was a really easy trend pullback remount play for us. And then we've had more trend pullback type plays along the way. We also traded it in here when it gapped down and reversed. That's a gap down reversal setup, and I think I might have done a blog post on that one as well. But look at the difference in character between these pullbacks and then this really volatile pullback, where at this point we really didn't know if it was breaking down and maybe it's a topping short or if it's going to resume trend. So when this happens, we're looking for the key clues to kind of signal us in which direction it's going to go. And basically we held through this whole thing even though we were interested in it the whole time. We see this volatile pullback from about 170 all the way down to the mid 144s. And what we're looking for, when it started to test this low, we're seeing, is it breaking down? And potentially we could short this for a trend type move down, or is it going to give us a show of strength and potentially remount a key level? Now let's get a little closer and kind of dig in here to exactly what we were looking at. So when we zoom in here, you can see really ugly in here. But then we got this doji candle in here, which signaled that maybe the trend downwards is going to stop here and we're going to get a pivot. And then we want to see if there's some show of strength. And we got that right here. Strong show of strength, volume picked up. And key for us here is it crossed back up over the 9. And that was our signal at the close on this day. So right a little above 150. I think it was 150.10 or something like that. So we entered here, we'll say 150. Basically, our stop was about 3 or 4 points. And then you can see this thing ran. I wanted to see if it could go a little higher, but we knew earnings was coming up, so we had to get out before the earnings date. So I got out at 158. It did eventually run before the earnings date up to about 162. But 158 was good. We got about 2.5 to 1 on our risk reward, and ended up being a nice dollar gain as well, really nice dollar gain as well. Real easy trade, basically held it for 4 or 5 days and got that 2.5 to 1 that we're looking for in a very short hold time. I'm for 2 to 1, 3 to 1, I'm willing to hold, a month to get something like that. And here we got it in 4 or 5 days. So really nice, easy trade. And you get these nice snapbacks or continuations of trend when there has been a really deep, ugly, difficult to trade type pullback. Whereas the orderly ones, sometimes when they continue trend, they float higher and you've got to hold a little longer. So that's why I really like these. They're a little scarier to trade, and you really have to assess it, really be strategic and use good tactics with how you're entering these things. So that was basically the setup there for this winning trade here. And of course, trade report members were alerted to this. Now let's talk about Netflix. Netflix going forward. Still love the stock. It's still one of our leaders here. Earnings breakout, and now we're going from trend, even though it's still within a bigger trend. The specific setup we're looking at now is a post breakout play. I've got 7 different setups I trade post breakout. So we've got to see what develops here. Right now, the way it looks like it could be developing is kind of like high tight flag, and if it were to break this range, I would get in. If it continues higher, maybe I have a quick runner short, which is what we did back in October 2016, where it ran, then we got our short signal and boom, came down. So maybe we get one of those setups, or if it pulls back in here, maybe we get a pullback play. So a lot of things could happen with Netflix, definitely on my radar going forward with a different setup, not the trend pullback, but an earnings breakout. All right, guys, so that was the volatile trend pullback setup, and I'll be back either later this week or maybe early next week with another video for you guys.